people are seeing that there's no use of working hard, or they take it as if hard work is redundant. And yet they're not seeing the biggest spectrum of things to say, you know what, in life you don't get lucky. In life you need to work your way up. And even those people who appear as if they struck it lucky on camera, they've got a story behind them, and it's about getting to the crux of that story to say, you know what, it's more to what we just see on the camera, it's more to what we just hear, more to what we just see on Instagram, TikTok. My high school life was very interesting.
Okay.
You know, it was one of those things.
It's gonna get interesting now.
It's one of those things whereby, you know, I did the naughty stuff that teenagers did.
Like what?
Well, you see, when it comes to the concept of relationships, man,
the pandemic.
there was a time I was an expert in these things. I just don't know what went wrong.
Yeah.
But
Authentic Reflections with Lisecha Senosha.
Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Lisecha Senosha, and welcome to Authentic Reflections with Lisecha Senosha. Now, this is the number 1 episode, and let me give you a little of let me tell you a little bit of what is this podcast about. Basically, we're just going to be reflecting on the past, trying to motivate each other on how to get to the future, and trying to build each other as the youth of South Africa and potentially the whole world. Now, my name is Lisecha Senosha, and welcome to Authentic Reflections with Lisecha Senosha. Now, today is a very interesting podcast episode number 111. I'm with my friend over here, Mr. Jeremy Brown. He is my guest for today. I'm going to be having multiple guests coming over here, and if you are someone who's interested, you can send me an email. It's going to be somewhere in the about, and then we can talk about having you as my guest. But anyways, let me allow him to come into the video. My guy.
yes, please.
How are you?
I'm all good, thanks, and you?
Awesome. I'm sorry, man. I didn't prepare a stellar intro for you.
Not much of a problem. I'm a very simplistic guy. There's no necessity for you to prepare anything that is of a complex nature.
Yeah. Can you give the people a little bit about you? Like, who are you, and what are you here for?
Okay, so my name is Jeremy Brown, and I run a tutoring company known as BrainShift. I've been running the company since 2017, and we focus on, tutoring high school learners, subjects such as mathematics, life sciences, geography, essentially working towards getting to all subjects in the curriculum, because I believe that there's no difficult or easy subject for as long as people are not attaining 100%. It means there's room for improvement, and it means that there's something that can be done to fill the gap.
Okay, dope. Anything in your personal life? Because my guy, your work is your personal life.
Yeah, no. I'm very much active in my company, my work and everything. But also on the side, I'm a software developer, a website developer. And but that's still work related after all. But in terms of life, in my spare time, I'm a musician. Motivational speaker,
Motivational speaker. That's the one that caught us, because this is the reason for this podcast. Damn. Sorry for the use of that word. But anyways, my guy, I need you to tell me about what do you think about the future generations of the people, and why you invested yourself into teaching high schoolers and showing them the way.
Well, essentially, if you think about it this way, the population of the youth is increasing exponentially every year. And that means that there's a lot of potential, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of, shall I say, vibe.
Yeah.
The idea is just that a lot of it goes to waste because a lot of our youth are captured by the wrong things. There's nothing particularly wrong with social media. It's just the nature of content that gets to you first. And I really feel that should the right content get to the people first, then it would get them to expose their talent. It would get them to use the energy that they have towards a better future, towards a better tomorrow. And I believe it's not impossible. We just need to equip the young people with the right tools and get them away from the normal status quo, because a lot of our young people, unfortunately to say, have this status quo to say that school is boring and life is all this, life is all that. It's about, what you see in the media. It's about the celebrities. It's about, what you see out there, and people are seeing that there's no use of working hard, or they take it as if hard work is redundant. And yet they're not seeing the biggest spectrum of things to say, you know what, in life you don't get lucky. In life you need to work your way up. And even those people who appear as if they struck it lucky on camera, they've got a story behind them, and it's about getting to the crux of that story to say, you know what, it's more to what we just see on the camera, it's more to what we just hear, more to what we just see on Instagram, TikTok, that there's a lot of energy going around, there's a lot of resources, there's a lot of potential, and it's about getting the young people to realize the potential that they have within them to better the society, to better the future and everything.
Oh, okay. Now, I want to know, this is authentic reflection. We have to reflect a little bit. I want to know a little bit of your background. What made you believe, what are the sum of events that contributed towards you wanting to become essentially a bigger brother for someone?
So my high school life was very interesting.
Okay.
You know, it was one of those things.
It's gonna get interesting now.
It's one of those things whereby, you know, I did the naughty stuff that teenagers did.
Like what?
Well, you see, when it comes to the concept of relationships, man,
the pandemic.
there was a time I was an expert in these things. I just
Okay.
don't know what went wrong.
Yeah.
But in as much as I was an expert, well, quote unquote expert, I always used to put my books first. So I was the naughty kid, but I would never get in trouble because my books were always in order and everything. But what made me realize that there was a huge problem with society is when I got to my first year at university. We were told in high school, you know what, just study, get good marks, you'll get a bursary, you'll make it out there. Life is okay. And yet there's nothing that high school can do to prepare you enough for life after school. Be it that you're going to a university, college, you're going to work, or you're even taking a gap year. Each of these things comes with a set of responsibilities that school cannot prepare you enough for. Each of these things come with a set of prerequisites that at school they do not tell you, and we might argue to say they potentially do not know, but at the same time we can't necessarily say that they do not know, because these are people who have made it through high school. These are people who've made it through life after school. And so I feel if our youth are equipped enough, especially the school-going generation, if they're equipped enough with the necessary resources, the necessary knowledge, the necessary skills, they would know more or less what life would be like afterwards. Because also I was a very theoretical person. I used to believe in theory subjects a lot, science, all of these things. And unfortunately, after school, theory is useless if you cannot put it into practical use. That's something I had to discover the hard way. It's something whereby I started my university, and I was very much gay about this thing to say, you know what, I finally made it. And I mastered my maths in high school, and I thought, you know what, life is great.
You see, that statement might make people think you are gay. Please. Tell them what's your sexuality?
Oh no, I'm straight. By gay in this instance, I refer to having a lot of excitement, a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm.
We understand now. You can continue
about where we're going.
But
yes, and so my disappointment was that the content, first of all, is absolutely the same as high school. It's a major transition that you need to undergo. You need to mature instantly. To a point where I failed maths in my first year. It was that bad. From someone who was getting distinctions in mathematics, I failed mathematics in my first year. And part and parcel of it was not being mentally prepared for life out there. It was a matter of, you know what, I winged it in high school, I can wing it here. And unfortunately, it was a completely different environment. And so I feel, due to my experiences, also with this thing of time, you know, high school kind of puts you under that spotlight to say, you know what, we need things to be due at this specific time. If you don't submit at this time, these are the consequences. And life out there, unfortunately, does not set a deadline for you. You need to set the deadline up for yourself. You need to be that person with order to say, you know what, I need to have a mental deadline so that should anything go wrong, I've got no one to blame it on. You get to university now, all of a sudden, you know what, they tell you way in advance when your assignments are due. You dare not submit on time. If you're lucky, they'll deduct 10%. If not, you get a 0 on the spot. And this is where now life really gets you to realize, you know what, it's actually not as cute as what I thought it would be. And hence I feel if a lot of people get this information before they get to university, or just life after school in general. They would be more or less more equipped with the decisions that they make whilst they're still young. They would think about becoming a skilled individual, because it's not so much just enough for you to be a smart individual, to have the degrees and everything. Are you a functional member of society? Are you the type of person who can say, you know what, despite my degrees and everything, I can contribute to the society in these many ways? And also, what I believe is we need to emphasize on the youth is the concept of entrepreneurship. That was something that I, should have taken more seriously in high school, or should I say in grade 9, because in grade 9, this is where I opted for science. And looking back, if I had an opportunity to go back, I would not have chosen science. Not because science is bad or anything, but the future actually demands that we have entrepreneurships. We've got entrepreneurs. Our future is based on entrepreneurs, and hence I feel entrepreneurship is something, that should be emphasized more often. If not in schools, then at least in the community, in circles where our people can be fed mentally and spiritually, so that they've got at least a map of what to do going forward in the future.
Wow. So there's something that you said that sticked up to me that I wanted you to elaborate on. Now, you told us, well, back in high school, you were an A student. Now you got surprised when you get to university, things are going sideways. Now, like, what is it that it stops a student to achieve the way they were back in high school? Like, what's the difference? Because learning is just learning.
Okay, well, I wouldn't necessarily say that it stops them. Maybe it's a delay, maybe it's a slowdown, but it's not a complete halt. I am not saying that everybody who's an A student is going to go through the same experience I went through. With my experience, it was a matter of having to adapt to high school life. Sorry, from high school life to university life. The transition for me was a difficult process. It was slow for me to adapt. Eventually, I got to it, but with great effort. So I would say the one thing that maybe is reducing the impact that you have in high school is, in high school, it's a matter of everybody's got your back. You've got your parents supporting everything that you need to do. You've got your teachers who are always pushing you to submit assignments and giving you a second chance. And maybe you grow with that mentality to say that, life is made up of second chances. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there are no second chances in life. It's a matter of you need to realize that, if you're given a first chance, treat it as though it's your first and your last. And hence I'm saying what slowed me down was the mentality that I did this in high school, I can do it again. You've got less subjects at university per semester. However, it's a matter of there's more work. Lesser quantity doesn't necessarily mean that there's less work. There's actually a lot more work, because the difference between high school and university is, in university you are a student. A lot of people don't understand the title. Student defines someone who is self-sufficient, someone who's able to learn from research. Unfortunately, in high school, we do parrot learning. And a lot of us can argue with this. That's why many of us can get the marks, but we don't survive out there, because we are taught how to parrot learn in high school. You have to cram that matter is this. You have to cram that the economy is structured like this, the weather is structured like that. And yes, these might be useful facts, but the method in which it's being taught and the method in which you have to adapt to in university is a completely different story. It's a matter of, for you to learn something at university, it must be accompanied by research. It must be accompanied by someone who is willing to explore, not merely someone who's going to accept everything and yes ma'am to everything that's happening. Not to say you need to be disrespectful to your lecturers or anything, but it's a matter of you need to now adopt to a lifestyle in which everything that you do is on your own. The consequences which are coming, it's not your parents who are going to receive a call for your misconduct. You're going to receive a call for your misconduct, and you're going to be called in, you'll be held accountable. This is where you realize it's actually so easy to get a criminal record without necessarily doing rape, sexual abuse, murder, or stealing. It's actually much more easier. It could be something as simple as copying what someone else said without referencing. Plagiarism, exactly. And so hence I'm saying what caused me and what could potentially cause other people a bit of a slowdown is the fact that you need to adjust your lifestyle. And if I could go back, what I would do is adjust my lifestyle from high school. Start doing things on your own. Respect the time that you have and use it to your best abilities. In high school, you can escape not studying for a test. At university, it's gonna come to haunt you. It's gonna come to bite you. And it's one of those things, like I'm saying, we need to change the mentality that we have. We need to restructure the entire education system, but in knowing that that's going to take time. It's not impossible, but it's going to take time. It just needs that every individual needs to adopt the mentality of being independent, self-sufficient, and inquisitive on top of that, because honestly, the future is not for people who are just going to agree to everything. The potential leaders, our good leaders, are not people who are going to accept things are the way they are, and you know what, that's it. Good leadership comes from people who are willing to challenge the system. Now, I'm not saying go and start protests. I'm not saying go and vandalize property. I'm saying be in the mentality, be in the mindset to say, what if we could see things in a different way? You don't necessarily need to start a political rally for this. Change starts with you. It does not start. You see, the problem we make at times and why we fail to achieve certain goals is that we want to include the masses. Guys, let's go tomorrow and let's go protest. Not everybody's in the same spirit as you. The people that you're proposing to are not necessarily within the same level of vibration as you.
Levels of vibrations. Now you're starting other topics now.
You might be of this mentality that, you know what, I want to start change. But immediately you say you want to speak to the principal, the leaders, you know, you're introducing an issue, because not everybody's going to see things the way that you do. In fact, a lot of people might oppose you. A lot of people might trample on your idea. Yes, you might say that the finances are not there and everything. Well, in as much as it seems like money rules the world, history has proven time and time again that the presence of the finances does not necessarily mean success. There are a lot of people who started off broke who did not have the finances, you know, to build a different society. But their dreams lived on. As long as you can keep the power of the dream alive, there's nothing that's impossible for you. But it needs to be an individual thing. It needs to be something that you can visualize in your mind and keep it to that level that, you know what, you work towards it daily. And once again, like I'm saying, there's nothing wrong with having people in your circle, but do not depend on the group to build success. The most successful people are the ones who took the decisions by themselves. The most successful people are the ones who said, you know what, everybody says West, I say East. And those are the most influential people at the end of the day.
Even crazy people do that. But
Exactly. You know, someone said to me the other day that if we did not have crazy people, the world would not be the way it is. For me to be speaking into this microphone, this is a crazy idea. I mean, for all we know, we don't know who's busy watching us out there. If we don't even sure if there's an audience out there. But someone came up with this idea to say, what if I could capture audio in the form of a digital signal and get it to work on a computer? People thought he was crazy. Heck, man, people thought the person who invented the chair you're sitting on was crazy. But had it not been for those crazy people, where would the world have been? We would be no better as the apes of the jungle.
what you're saying is that without recognition, you are crazy, and after recognition, you are a genius.
Exactly. In fact, there's a very thin line between craziness and genius, because it's the genius people that we think are crazy and vice versa.
And I think that's why maybe our guy Nikola Tesla ended up having a relationship with a bird.
Exactly. And you know, we can today look up to people like Nikola Tesla to say, you know what, these were the great inventors. We look at Isaac Newton, we look at Albert Einstein, we look at all of these people, Gordon Moore, and I could name a number of them. But the question is, can we not see those people within our own circles? Because unfortunately, in our society, if someone comes up with an idea, it's either they trample on your idea, making it seem like it's a nonsense idea, or someone out there steals your idea and tries to make it their own without giving you recognition. And unfortunately, that's the sad reality of life that we're living in.
And that's not fair. People are gonna steal your own great ideas, and just like that, everything is gone. So tell me about your journey as a developer. Like, well, what's going on there? What interested you inside that field, and what are some of the milestones that you've broken as a professional developer?
So first of all, working with a computer is not an easy thing. In fact, let me rephrase that. Working with a computer might be easy. Getting the computer to work, that's a different story. excuse me, you're working with an entity that does not speak the same language that you're speaking. You're working with an entity that does not understand what humans are. It does not have any comprehension of humans or language whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so the biggest challenge for me was having to change my mentality from an ordinary conversation that we might have, assuming that you know what it is. If I ask you for a glass of water, you know what a glass looks like, you know what water is, you know what to do, to a setup in which you need to now have less abstraction. You need to be very much specific about what you want. But you see, the lesson I've learned there, the life lesson I've learned is, in general, with anything that you want, you need to be specific. You cannot just say, I want to be rich. What for? I want to be rich and then what? And so that was the main challenge that I had. Now, getting to adapt to what the languages are and how the process of developing software works. You see, there's always the challenge of what to do next. An example would be, what language do I learn? What's my first language? What language do I learn next? This is where you get to realize that, once again, the specificity of your goal comes into play. The nature of tasks you will adopt will be dependent on the goal that you have. IT is a very broad field. But what you are aimed at doing, your goal will be dictated. In fact, your goal will dictate the nature of tasks that you need to perform, the nature of things that you need to learn at the end of the day. But eventually, when you get to a point whereby you have the patience, because computers require a lot of patience, more patience than a newborn baby. But once you've adopted that patience, it's a life lesson that you've learned. Yes, it's a very frustrating thing. So also now you need to get to a point where you learn stress coping strategies. But once you've mastered that, the beauty in what you have done is seeing your final product and all the hours spent working on it, all of the imposter syndrome that you've suffered, everything coming together to giving you this one product, which eventually, it could potentially power the world. And that's the beauty of it. For me, that's the beauty of being a developer. Seeing all of your hard work, frustration, and everything turning into something wonderful, something functional at the end of the day.
You sound like you've been through a lot while just trying to program an app.
Yeah, no, you see, as simple as an app might sound, that thing is not something simple to build. The idea is simple, but the genius lies in an execution.
There's someone who once asked me, Mr. Productions, I think you know who I'm talking about. Which app can I download to create apps? I'm like, hey, you want an app to create apps? That app was created by which app? Yeah. And then I asked them, between an app that creates apps, which app came first?
Yeah, no, you were just sending them into a cycle of craziness. But ideally, that's the question you get from people. They make it sound like you just download an app and then boom, you're done. And that was my mentality before I started coding. But then, eventually I succeeded. I got an app which, from a distance it looks like an app, but it's actually a suite of apps. It's actually a collection of apps. But then at the end of the day, the app is there in front of you. Now, you think to yourself, it's ready to code. You're ready to code. It's time to code now. Time to make the next Facebook. Where do you begin? Because now you realize, now you know exactly what you don't know how to do.
You know exactly what's the problem.
You don't have the knowledge of the language. You don't have the background knowledge, because there's background knowledge which is also needed. Simply just knowing a language is not enough. How to put the pieces together. Look, man, I might say, this is a microphone, this is a laptop, this is a wire. Me knowing these individual components does not necessarily mean I know how to run a successful podcast.
Yeah. And the recording is just the beginning. There's a lot more that goes behind.
Exactly.
But anyways, I get your point. Okay. So you are the CEO of which company is your developing company?
Well, currently I work only on the tutoring company that's called BrainShift. So I'm still working towards creating a company which specializes in software creation and everything.
Which grades do you teach?
So I tutor mainly FET, so that's grades 10 to 12. But recently we've added support for grades 8, from grades 8 to 12, because often the problem that we think starts in FET starts in the lower grades. I mean, I was always of this mentality that if you're failing maths in grade 10 and 11, grade 12 and 11, it's because you did not master maths grade 10. But now the grade 10 maths needs grade 9 maths, and the grade 9 maths needs grade 8 maths. And so now the idea is, why don't we start from the very beginning and tackle the problem by the root? You know, when you want to kill a tree, you don't cut the branches, you attack the root. And so now I'm saying, okay, let's go back and let's sort out the root. And once the root has been sorted, the root of the problem is cured. We don't have to worry about this big tree standing here, obstructing our view, our daily life. No. The roots are dead. This is just a piece of wood now. We can just push it over.
I get you. So if you want to be taught by him, I'll just put the link to the BrainShift website in the description below. But you know, out of all of the things that you said, everything that I heard was that I'm a hustler. So you are a hustler who's trying to make a living out there from just your businesses. Now I want to know, how do you keep and maintain the mentality of a hustler?
Yeah, you see, life is great, but it's not easy out there. A wise man once said, there will always be negativity in the world, on the media, on the streets, everywhere. But it's up to you whether you choose to accept it or reject it. It's up to you whether you choose to live with it or not. I mean, someone earlier today was complaining about the price of potatoes, the price of eggs. You cannot stop the price of, let me say, the cost of living going up. That's something that you cannot prevent. Yes, it's going to knock you. However, the goal is to remain positive. You see, unfortunately, the reason why a lot of people allow themselves to be set by negativity, is due to the fact that they lose track of the goal very quickly. I have this dream that one day I want to be A, B, C, X, Y, Z. Then a financial issue strikes, for example. Now you start thinking, my goodness, you know what, I'm not going to reach that. I don't have the money now. It's impossible, man. Let's be realistic. You see, the most successful people are the people that challenged reality. You cannot let yourself be shaped by the reality that you have. If you can wake up every day and be reminded of the goal that you have, you will have the energy to get up out of bed and to go work towards it, even if the situation sounds daunting. So in short, to keep the positivity, keep the goal in mind. If it means that you have to write it down somewhere on a wall where you see it every day when you wake up and every night when you go to sleep, do so. Just as long as you're keeping the goal alive, that will also propel you to work harder. If it means write it on the insides of your eyelids so that you can see it even when you're dreaming, do so. Don't try this at home. But the idea is, you need to keep the dream alive. You need to keep the dream in your conscious mind. And I'm not going to say your subconscious mind, because sometimes the subconscious mind is something that we ignore. Keep it on your conscious mind. Let it be something that you live, breathe, see, touch, smell. And that's the only way you're going to keep motivation, and the only way that you can keep hustling out there.
So you think we should do a positive affirmation, a positive self-reflection, and things, do some mantras and mudras. Yeah. I know you have your own view behind those, but then let's not get to that one. But anyways, you have your own set of things that you think people should do to keep on going. Because I remember, he's my friend, by the way, I think I mentioned that.
Yeah.
I remember there were some days where, my guy, like, your face, it seemed like you don't want to go back to teach these kids. You're like, you know what, this learners
watch it. Some of them might be watching this. Hey, you don't want them to get the impression that I'm talking about them. Hey.
Yeah. So I wanna know what is it that you do as an individual? Do you look at the mirror and be like, I am the best teacher, I am great? Or what do you do as an individual?
Once again, like I said, keeping the goal in mind is the important part. Once you have the goal in mind, there will always be challenges, yes. But if you keep the goal in mind, those challenges will not affect you. They might taint you for a short while. It might be something, we are emotional beings. Yeah. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to get angry. You're going to get sick. But once you keep the goal in mind, those things will not break you down from reaching your goal. They will not slow you down in any way. It's just a matter of, like you're saying, going back again, doing self introspection and trying to find coping mechanisms, trying to find mechanisms on how to deal with not just the teenagers, but with people in general. Because, I mean, as we are emotional beings, we have a tendency of stepping on each other's toes, we have a tendency of clashing with each other. But once you are fixed on your goal, you would see that people and their actions affect you much less. In fact, they get to a point where they have no impact on you. Because in your mind, in your body, in your subconsciousness, you are living your goal. Notice, I didn't say you're working towards your goal. You are living your goal. And once you're living your goal and you have got the positivity, the affirmations, as a wise neuroscientist once said, the structure of the brain's neurons begin to change. You begin to seem like, you know what, you're a genius at what you do, irrespective of what people say, irrespective of what you go through. You know what, it's as though you are your goal at the end of the day.
I am the goal, which is to reach 1 million subscribers. Please subscribe. Don't go, subscribe. But anyways, yeah, if you're listening to this on Spotify or any other streaming platform, just follow. I don't sign account and take a screenshot and put us on your Instagram and tag me. I'll give me my links. Let's help each other grow, yeah, so that more people can get this. But anyways, my guy, to end this podcast, yeah, I have a short little game that I'm gonna be playing in the episodes with everyone. It's authentic reflections. We have to reflect on our lives, yeah, so this game, are you comfortable with people knowing your age? Yeah. So you are 26 now, né?
Yes.
Yeah, you are 26. I'm gonna pick a year throughout your whole year, except the below ones where you don't actually remember what's happening. Yeah, and then you're gonna tell me how was that year, what was your highlights, what was your lowlights, and how everything was.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me think. I'm looking for the most interesting year. You know what I'm thinking?
I don't know what you're thinking, but shoot.
When you were 21.
When was I 21? That was 5 years ago. So 2023. 23 minus 5, that should be a 2018. Yes.
I want your lowlights, your highlights, and the entire year in general. Was it a good year or a bad year?
So for me, it was a good year. At the end of it all, every year for me is a good year. Despite things going south, I believe there's a lesson in every day, and it's about you having to realize what the lesson is for the day. The most important part is you got the lesson. So the highlight for me for 2018 was when my business actually started picking up, and I eventually started tutoring outside of my residential area, because I started off tutoring in my residential area. The bad side of it, or should I say what was not so nice about the year, is the fact that, I had just experienced a good breakup. Now,
there's nothing good about breakups, man.
Yeah, no.
What do you mean good?
It knocked me, eh? It kicked me between the legs.
Hard luck.
However, and it's not to say I deny it did hurt quite a lot. I'm not denying the pain that was there and everything. The beauty of it all is, if you keep positive, you get to learn a lesson from even the negativity that you go through. Had I stuck to that breakup that I endured, who knows if I would have been 12 feet under. I mean, I know they bury people 6 feet under, but I mean, must have been so bad that it knocked me a further 6 feet down. So if I had stuck to that, I could have been, way underground right now, becoming a fossil. You guys would be burning me right now in your cars and everything. But that was the highlight of my life. The interesting part was that my business was finally taking off, and I finally got to meet people of a different class. And I do not necessarily mean an economic class here, but just generally people from a different society. Sometimes we are basing our future, our thoughts, our opinions on our community, our immediate surroundings. And life is not all about your immediate surroundings. There are countless stories of people who have grown from nothing to something. People who rose from the most terrible of communities that you can ever think of, and they became a success of themselves, and To anybody who's listening who thinks that, you know what, yeah, but the community is keeping you down, there's nothing wrong with the community. Okay, there's a lot wrong with the community, but it should not affect you. It should not be a matter of the community dictating your future. Your future is not dictated by the community, it's dictated by your vision, it's dictated by your dreams. If you can keep the dream alive, I say again, at the end of the day, nothing will have power over you.
Oh, thank you very much for reflecting with us. Anyone who wants to reflect, send me an email. But anyways, thank you very much for joining me, my brother. I am Mr. Sinusha, and thank you for watching and joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day or evening, whatever time you're at, and goodbye.
Authentic Reflections with Lisecha Senosha.